Okay, so we talked a little bit about the tools. So now come to the crux of the matter now. How do we use some of these tools as part of your trade show effort? Like most strategies, even for trade shows, we won't think in terms of what we can do before the show to create the buzz. We are thinking about what we can do during the show and basically to drive foot traffic to your booth. And we're going to talk about what we can do after the show to maintain the conversation. Because really at the end of the day, like I said before, it is about continuing a conversation with your potential clients or potential stakeholders. Let's talk a little bit about before the show. Again, these examples are not, are not catered to any particular client per se, and these are just things that we have seen or we have recommend people to do. So it's really more about how creatively you can use these tools. So here are some examples. The first one of which is obviously, I think I mentioned this earlier, set up appointment with potential clients using LinkedIn. If you know you happen to be in a certain area, if you know you are prospecting a certain industry or prospecting a different company, you can definitely try to use LinkedIn and find the appropriate people and set up those appointments before coming to the show. And maybe they may be interested in meeting up with you when you're there. Before the show, you can also announce your participation and create a buzz using Facebook. Like I said, you can create a product page on Facebook, and you can obviously get people to follow you on Facebook and be a fan of yours. And then, and how you create the buzz is totally dependent on you, and obviously it requires some amount of work. But the point is that it helps create the excitement before the trade show starts so that you can actually meet them, hopefully, when you're there. One of the more interesting ways is actually to provide incentive to visit your booth before a trade show. Obviously, all these things need to be set up prior. One of the things we did for this webinar, for example, is we created a specific we created a specific Twitter account just for this webinar. And that allows people who are interested to join the Twitter account, and then you can then utilize some kind of promotion to drive the traffic to your booth. Like, for example, you may say, join our Twitter account, and during the trade show, we will send you a secret password, and we will put you into a raffle. So you may get people to drive to the booth and then give out some secret name, and then you put them in a raffle of some sort. So there are many different ways of trying to drive traffic to your booth by using these tools. But obviously, it's only limited by creativity and how much effort you want to put in it before your trade show starts. So what can you do during the show? One of the things that Carbon TradeEx did, we helped them do, is we try to do microblog in real time during the show, and then display in some kind of flat panel TV. Like, for example, for Carbon TradeEx, for example, Darren has recruited several people to attend the sessions, and they are blogging these sessions in real time. There are a couple of things that happens when you do that. One, you can actually put the real-time blog on your website, so people who do not have an opportunity to attend the show get at least to see what's happening during the show. And also, as part of an unintended consequence, is that if you happen to be reading a Twitter while you're in a session, you may look at other sessions or have an idea of what other sessions are doing, and you may switch and take another session, for example. And obviously, it is all done in real time. Another thing you can do during the presentation, during the trade show, is take pictures of your visitors and post them on some of these social networking groups and tag them. There are also utilities out there that allow you to post these pictures in real time on your website. So it creates a bond between you and your visitors, and you can also tag them, also creates another sense of connection between them. And more important, I think, for people who attend trade shows, it also gives you an identification of who you met, because if you are meeting a lot of people, this is a good way of remembering who they are. Another thing you could do is, obviously, I will always encourage you to invite these people to join your network. During trade shows, obviously, one of the things you want to do is to collect their business cards as well as swipe their tags. But really what you also want to do is to put them into your network, because then you can actually communicate with them after the show. So what happens after the show? Well, one, you can summarize the experience. Similar to this webinar, what we want to do here, the reason why we have a Twitter account and stuff like that is because we want to continue the conversation. So at the end of this webinar, for example, we will be sending you an email for a link where you can download this presentation and then see this presentation in the video, as well as answer any commonly asked questions throughout this presentation. So you want to summarize the experience, because you know some people have the same questions over and over again, and you want to distribute or respond to those questions. And after the show, you want to connect them to your network and continue a conversation, which is basically what I just talked about earlier. If people have other questions or have more detailed questions about your product and services, you can use your social networking to continue pushing information to interested parties. And more importantly, the reason for all this is because you want to keep them engaged until you close the sale. Because as you know, some sales cycle can be long and requires a lot of touch points. So this is a much easier and cheaper way of doing, of communicating with a massive amount of people than picking up the phone or sending, let's say, a postcard, for example. But most importantly, I think, you want to encourage the people in the network to evangelize. So having said that, ideally you want for them to tell other people about your products and services. But in order for that to happen, these people need to be excited about your products. These people need to know more information. So obviously you need to keep them engaged, because when you talk about social media, it really is about engagement. So having said that, one of the questions to ask that get asked quite frequently is, how do I manage the social media? I'm not going to go through all these tools, but I would just like to say that there are many tools out there, most of them are free, that helps you manage Facebook, LinkedIn, MySpace, your Twitter. And so it helps you manage it in a way by aggregating all your accounts together in one spot. So here are some examples.